Hi everyone, I'm Kimbyrleigha and this is my channel Kimbyrleigha Live. And over here I discuss current and ongoing true crime cases. We also analyze trials together. That's what we'll be doing today and what we have been doing. And I try to make them easy for you to understand so that you don't have to sit there for 7 or 8 hours and try to analyze everything because that's what I'm going to do. And it really helps me because most of you know I am brushing up on the law because I'm preparing to sit for my bar exam. Finally, it has been 12 years, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay. But actually, we will be talking about that because we're back talking about Mr. Burgess, who has taken 17 years. He's still pursuing his bachelor's degree. Guess there's no shame in it if it's the truth. But I also just want to thank all of you who have been here talking about this trial. And we're going to be talking about other trials as well. I want to do a Koberger case by the end of next week. So stay tuned for that. But I also want to say thank you for almost 500,000 subscribers on my main channel, Kimbyrleigha. I think we're like 4,000 away. So that's pretty crazy. And if you haven't been to my podcast with my husband, that is called Dark Livity. And I will try to link those below as well as other things there. I keep forgetting to do that. But thank you so much for being here today. Also, there's a little recap in the description box, but you're really not going to need it. I just put it there really for YouTube to understand what this video is about. They're going to be judging me on a lot of things because I'm going to, by request, because y'all had asked about it as well, going to try to submit for monetization on this channel a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. All right. So I think it's time to jump in. We already talked about Mr. Burgess last week, and the biggest issue with his testimony the other day, because I think I'm 2 days behind right now, but there's no court for the rest of the week, so we can catch up. The biggest issue was really the problems with his dishonesty on his CVs, multiple, his LinkedIn, and we're back with him again. He's on cross examination with Bob Alessi again, and he went right back into talking about his experience and his certifications. Now, he also wanted to emphasize as a forensic examiner, isn't it true that you must prioritize accuracy, reliability, minutes, and seconds matter? Of course, right? Especially when you're talking about a criminal case. And Alessi is going to challenge him, saying, "You told the jury that the report that was shown in the PowerPoint, they've been looking at it, they were looking at it for like a day, that all of that was down to, in his words, the last second. Like those seconds matter." And of course, for the Lexus, and we'll be getting into that in just a minute. And then he showed him the actual PowerPoint. There's actually 5 of them. And you know what? I meant to screenshot them for you. I don't think I remembered to put them in this presentation. So we're just going to have to look at them the way they are on the screen. But I'll point out what's going on in case you don't recognize it. Because guess what? He didn't realize and he just walked right into a trap, which was so embarrassing. I had secondhand embarrassment for the second time. But let me go ahead and play it for you because when we can see it on the screen, I think it'll make a lot more sense. But these were the PowerPoints that he was relying on to show the jury all about Karen Reed leaving 34 Fairview, going to John's residence, also leaving the waterfall, all that. And he's saying that it happened. What were the timestamps again? I think it was like 12:36 and 12:42:08. I think those were the times we talked about last time. And then there are power on and off events. Let's go play it. Let me switch my screen. Also, feedback I got from you. I will make sure that the right person's on the screen when I'm dissing them because I accidentally had another person on because I switched to another screen. I don't mean to do that. I am so sorry. I think you all know that I was talking about this guy when I was showing the DNA guy. But let's go ahead and I'll also get into your comments at the end as well. Let's go ahead and get into the testimony.
Really important when seconds and minutes matter as they matter and as you testify to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were accurate down to the second, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint presentation that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday. Mr. Woe, could we please
He's
bring
like,
up
okay, bring it on.
slide 32 of the presentation Mr. Burgess discussed with the jury yesterday. And Your Honor, with your permission to publish.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's?
Okay, oh, Lacey's got pizza. I wish I had pizza. I'm going to move myself a little bit because I do want to show you this before we go on, because this is what I was going to show you in a screenshot that I forgot to add. So here we go. This is Karen Reed traveling to 34 Fairview and John O'Keefe's residence between what I said, 12:36 to 12:42:08. On the left-hand side, we see power on event, power off event. That's where he's getting those times. But here's the problem, and I'm pointing it out to you before we go forward and see the embarrassment. It's showing January 29th, way bottom left, to January 30th. That's wrong. It's supposed to be January 28th into the 29th. So this is bad. I know some people might not see why this is so bad. This is a criminal trial where you're supposed to be showing the jury accurate information. He's 24 hours off, according to this. This is terrible. This is just bad. But let's proceed. Am I bothering you by being in this weird spot? Let's go.
Lexus vehicle traveling to 34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence.
Yes.
According to your timeline, Ms. Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please, Mr.
Oh, we're going to go through all the slides because Alessi has to make the point.
Wolf? And we're going to go through a handful of slides,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, to just give you a heads up. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe's residence at 5:07 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th.
Again, you can see this timeline on the bottom is wrong because we have January 29th to January 30th. And I know some might say, okay, he messed up the dates, not a big deal. But then you have to like halt and say, wait a minute, what do you mean? What do you mean that's not a big deal? That's a big deal. He's getting the whole time frame incorrect. So to say it's down to the second, that would be incorrect.
2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Woke, to slide 34, please.
Going to the
And
next
these are
one.
all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct, they
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Is slide 34 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m.? I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35:01, correct.
I'm sorry, thank you, 12:35. And according to your analysis, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dighton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I think I'm just going to go ahead and scrub through for a second because he's going to show that one, and this one.
You stated in your direct examination yesterday,
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
according to the Lexus.
Yes.
In point of fact, Mr. Burgess, none of the 5 timelines that we just reviewed from your presentation are accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
But he's not wrong, but he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Oh my gosh. I feel like I got sick after watching this. Like I was like sick to my stomach. It's just, I don't know. I was like, this is a complete shit show at this point. Like, what is going on here? Like, Brennan, Lolly, law clerk, someone throw him a life preserver. Like, what is going on? Like, nobody noticed? Oh my God. All right, let's keep going.
Are you aware, and if we could go back to the first slide, which is slide 32, and we'll look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
It's like a train
Are
wreck.
you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022? Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's
Oh my god, and he's, like, digging himself deeper, and I was like, "No, no, 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 God, no." It's like, oh, it's kinda like when you're the mom and your child is doing, like, a not a rehearsal, they're actually doing the actual show, and you're like, "Put your hand like this," and you're, like, over here trying to tell them, like, you're doing the wrong. I was like that. My motherly instincts was like, "Oh my gosh, can you imagine on a public stage?" And then he dug in, he's like, "No, this is January 30th." And then Alessi's like, "Exactly."
what you.
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back. And make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think everyone was getting confused, to be fair. I think even Alessi was confused because then he went over to the audio visual guy who's, like, controlling everything. And yeah, and Bev didn't even throw him a life raft. Like, nobody noticed? That was Lacey. I can't take credit for that comment. Lacey said, "Judge Bev didn't even throw him a life raft." Nope. I was like, "Oh my goodness," because this doesn't look good because of the other issues, but how do you not notice this? So you'll see Alessi, he goes and he's, like, whispering. Oh, he's actually whispering to I didn't know he was whispering to Yannetti. I thought he was whispering to the AV guy. Oh, he is, both. He's like, "Okay, you got it, dude." He's like, "Yeah, I'm ready." Going back in. Here he goes.
Mr. Burgess, once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
He just made him confirm the wrong information. How slick was that? Oh, no. No, that's wrong. And here's the thing. There was a moment, I don't think we caught it, where Brennan did try to object. He, like, tries to, but he already fell right into the trap. It was really bad. It was really, really bad. All right. So,
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
parlance?
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th.
No. Who knows what people were doing on January 30th? January 30th? That's the day like this. Oh my goodness. I was just like, what is going on? He's still digging in. He still thinks it's the 30th. Oh my gosh. And wait, it gets worse.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, yes.
If he misspoke and he said the 29th, he meant the
Okay.
30th.
You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
Oh no. He doesn't. I honestly don't think he realized the exact mistake. Because he keeps saying if I misspoke and always a 20, no, I was incorrect. The whole thing is incorrect. It's 24 hours off. I don't think he even understands what just happened. I really don't. Because you have to understand also, when you're up on the stand like that, you're not looking at, you're not, we have more time to think and, like, collect ourselves. But you're an expert witness. That's what you're getting paid to do. You need to practice your craft. You need to know your crap, right? Oh my gosh. We have Queen Olive saying, Ruth Ann, she said, "I was so confused when he kept saying the 30th. I know." And Sheila says, I can't with this guy. I was going to say cannot. I can't with this guy. It is bad.
The core basis of your job, your role in this case, is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct?
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events, is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
So your discussion of the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct,
But
yes.
my question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that, yes.
And that was
He's still not understanding. He's not. He doesn't get it because he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. What I was doing yesterday at 6 a.m. is different from what I'm doing at today at 6 a.m. So if you're trying to convict me of something and you're using today at 6 a.m. and it really happened yesterday, you're wrong. Like everything you said goes down the drain because you made a mistake. To me, it's big. I don't know if the jury is going to be like, I get it. He made a mistake on the timeline. Like, we get it. It was the 28th or 20th. They might be. They might be. But for me or anyone else that, let's say you're a nurse and you have to draw up a certain amount of medication, it matters. It matters, right? Those things matter. It's not exactly the same, but I think anyone who has a profession where they can make a mistake and this is a trial where someone can lose their freedom and someone has died, I think it does matter.
your testimony yesterday, what you spoke about.
Yes.
I think he's going to move on. And sorry, I cut it off in a weird spot. But I don't know. You give me your thoughts. Is this a big deal or can you just overlook it, thinking, okay, we get what he's saying. But I think the point that he's trying to get at, if you're Alessi, is listen, he's dishonest. He's making mistakes. So if he's making a mistake here, how do we know that there's not more errors? And that's what he's going to move on to. He wanted to point out some other critical errors. So Alessi is going to meticulously start picking apart all of his analytical choices. And specifically, what he's trying to show is that he's either incompetent or that they're crafted to fit the prosecution's narrative with confirmation bias, which they talked about before. And that's to favor the Commonwealth's argument. Not that he was being neutral and going with the evidence. And Alessi confirmed that Burgess, he synchronized the clocks on the Lexus and John O'Keefe's cell phone, as well as an anchor point. And I know this is going to be a little bit confusing, but we're going to get into it in a minute. And that anchor point was the 3-point turn that Karen did before they pulled up 234 Fairview, because that was an event that was close in time to what the Commonwealth and Burgess is referring to as the text stream or the trigger event. And that's what the prosecution is using to designate when they believe that John O'Keefe was hit. So this is to account for any discrepancies with different clocks. If you have, I don't know, like you said, like an oven clock and your phone clock, those are going to be different. So to get a more accurate time frame, he wanted to pick this anchor point. I hope all of this is making sense because this was very complex. Try my best to break it down. But just so you're not confused, well, you're probably going to get more confused. So let's listen first and then we'll get into it. I think I might have, I think this is still him talking.
Mr. Burgess, once that...
Yeah, that was him before. Let me answer some questions too. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I just jogged my memory. But Cuff, you said, isn't that crazy? They're saying, oh, I haven't watched that one yet. Let's not do that yet because that's going to be tomorrow. I'm like 2 days behind now, but I remembered what I was going to tell you. This is important. You know how we just talked about January 30th? Okay. Well, just so that you're not more confused, there was a report that Burgess turned in, and it's going to be his January report. So I don't want you to get confused because his January 30th report is what he turned into the court in the beginning. So he's going to refer to that first report, and then he's going to refer to another report that he turned in mid-trial, which was the May 8th report. That was his supplemental report. Remember that whole thing? And remember, they wanted to do the whole questioning outside of the jury. If they would have done that, they probably would have caught all these mistakes, but Commonwealth didn't want to do that, right? Neither did the judge. Well, let's get into what's going to happen because this is important. I just wanted to clarify the January 30th report is not the same thing as this incorrect one.
Ask you to once again take a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head when you've had a fair opportunity to look at that document.
You're also going to hear 1162.2 a bunch of times, and that's a label for the trigger event or the text stream event or the supposed collision. So you're going to keep hearing that. Try not to get too fixated on it.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock skew, and clock drift, you did not compare the time of the three-point turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time, no.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
So in his first report, he didn't use the anchor point. He used the call logs, one from the Lexus and one from John O'Keefe's phone, and he basically synchronized the clocks. He made up for the variance. But now what Alessi's trying to say is you are now coming out with this other report and you're shifting the timelines to fit a narrative. You're not following the science. And he's going to show him a table from his January 30th report showing John's call log and Karen's from the Lexus. We're going to see that in just a moment.
This data in that exhibit captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay.
Yeah, this is going to be it. No, this is.
So this data, just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of reading in the far right-hand column. 2 seconds. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
An easy way to understand this because this testimony was so boring to me in a lot of ways, but it had a lot of really good information in it. But the way that it's presented, I was like falling asleep. As I explained, if you have two different clocks and you're trying to figure out what time did this thing really happen, and let's say I'm using my computer clock, but there's also your iPhone. And let's say your iPhone is getting GPS information. This probably is too, but let's pretend this one didn't. Let's pretend I have a watch on. What he's trying to do is he's trying to make up for any little discrepancies. And so he's going to use addition or subtraction and add or subtract seconds. And that's going to matter because they're trying to pinpoint exactly when the supposed collision or trigger event or text stream event happened. But as you can see here, the variance that he first put forth in his own documentation was it could be anywhere between 1 second to 21 seconds. And there's going to be a reason why he's pointing that out.
Correct.
And yet, you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to.
He's not going to let him explain because all he wanted to get at is you did not add or subtract time away from the critical event. We're going to get there. He's going to stop here. It's going to get complicated, but he just wants the jury to hear that he's not being consistent with his first report. And we're going to get into more of that because that's the point. And I think when I said adjustments in the thumbnail and I was kind of making a joke, it's because of this. So let's just keep playing it because I think it'll make more sense. And I know it's a little bit boring. Let's get through it because there's some questions and I think you're going to understand it. Oh, Dark Lady's here. It's my husband. Hi. The jury is deciding the fate of someone's life. The facts need to be, in fact, factual. Hi, Jonathan. Okay. I've now made everybody leave that's not our follower.
Do that. This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report on January 30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
He doesn't even know what analytical step he's talking about, but he's like, no, he's answering the question. I was like, you don't even know what analytical step he's talking about, but you're trying to reconcile the timestamps and the variances. It's bad. But it just sounds bad, right? I think a jury might think so. I don't know. If you're the juror, what would you think? I don't know. I think him saying he doesn't understand or he doesn't even know is pretty telling.
So,
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So, in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the contrast. With your Honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
Yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report,
Sure.
you indicated only this. The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16 to 21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:30:31 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Do I have that correct?
yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Now what I'd like to do is
What happened is he learned new information and then he comes out with a new report. So Alessi wants to press him on that because in his original one, he showed the variance 8 to 21 seconds between those two times. All of this is going to make way better sense. It's a little bit complicated, but let's continue.
and we can take that down. Thank you, Mr. Woke. Let's talk about what information you learned after you issued your January 30, 2025 report.
He learned things, and that's what's important.
Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
From a presentation by Mr. DeSogra. Yes.
Well,
correct.
So he got a colleague's slides, Dr. Welcher, a doctor, not, I'm talking doctorate. A lot of times when you hear doctor, people are like, he's not a medical doctor. I'm like, you can be a doctor of many, many things. Someone who I think we can agree has more education than this witness, not that it matters in the grand scheme of things, but Burgess looked at those slides that were both submitted the same day in January 2025. And apparently, they were both asked to do the same thing, and they both analyzed this event, calling it different things. Burgess calls it the text stream event, which is also referred to as 1162.2. And the other witness, Dr. Welcher, called it the infotainment event.
I understand you want to add Mr. DeSogra. My question is...
Sustained.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
I like how he's like, thank you, as if he doesn't want it to seem like it's bad that he got an objection that was sustained.
I'm focusing on what would you like to call it? Do you call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure, we can.
I want
we
to
can
use whatever parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slides fine, yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 1162 to what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely, absolutely. Could we publish what is in evidence?
Sheila says he believes in his work. That's
Okay.
all I
And I'm
can give
also
him, to be fair.
May I approach, please?
Yes.
You know when they
At
say,
your
like,
request,
you
I wanna
believe
give
your own
you,
lies?
Sure.
It's kind of like
that,
that,
if
but
we have
I'm not saying that these are
188,
lies. I
just
don't
give
know
me the
yet.
actual marked exhibit.
If it weren't for the fact that he was dishonest and all the other little things, I think I would take his analysis a lot more seriously.
You know what we'll do? We'll use the slide. If you need an exhibit
I'm gonna.
-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 1162-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
correct.
You, we can take that down now, Mr. Woke.
This wasn't the only report he looked at. He also looked at Whiffin's report, and that showed the last activity on John's phone. He also submitted that in January. And the issue lies in that John's device unlocked with Face ID and his phone was locked after that. And the problem is the event occurred after the text stream event. I mean, like the event of him locking it happened after the supposed collision. Do you understand why that's a problem? Because the lock event requires human interaction, physically pushing a button. And it was recorded as a button press. So, in layman's terms, and to make it easy to understand, if a person can use their phone after they'd supposedly been hit by a car and now they're lying in the snow, unable to move they can't, right? We're going to hear from a doctor in another video. So the point is, this is wrong. This is incorrect. It doesn't make sense because the way that it's put in here, according to these other experts, is that the crash happened and then he's able to still unlock his phone and lock it and read a text. But that's what Alessi's getting at. You knew that, so you changed it.
You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffin's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence?
Okay.
And we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available, if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Yes.
So there you
Now
go.
that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes. Timestamp. Yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question. The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event is after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now,
So these two other experts, the bottom line about all this, and there's so much like it's back and forth. The bottom line is two other experts showed that this is when John's phone unlocked with Face ID at 12:32:04, which would have been after the supposed event. So when he got wind of this, is what they're saying. When he caught wind of this, he was like, "Uh-oh, this doesn't make sense anymore. Now I have to establish a different timeline. I know what I'll do. I'll use an anchor point." We don't know if that's what really happened. This is the argument that Alessi's saying. And this could be reasonable doubt because his entire timeline being wrong, we haven't even gotten to the reconstruction yet, okay? Because I don't want to do like spoiler alerts for people who haven't watched this yet, like haven't watched the other trial. But what if he didn't even get hit by a car? Remember that? Remember that? We're the 13th juror. So we're going to get there. We're going to go through all of this, even the really boring stuff, because we're even privy to more stuff than the jurors get. But as you can see, the point is he's saying, you saw these reports when you turned yours in. And now you're saying, oh no, look what happened. John read the pull behind me text message. You can see it in here. Read text message, pull behind me. That was at 12:32:06. You see that? It's the 1, 2, 3. It's the fourth line down. Well, I could have said second from the bottom. Pull behind me. So that was read. And then the device is locked 3 seconds later. But he kept saying the unadjusted timestamp. Unadjusted. But it's his adjustments that he did afterward to make it fit the Commonwealth's narrative. That's the point. That's the point that Alessi's trying to make. You got these reports and then you changed your report. And now, if you do get additional data, let's just say you're thinking of it this way. It could be good for the Commonwealth because you're like, wait a minute, of course we had to change our report. We got new information and we wanted to make it more accurate. I don't know. I still think it could look sketchy either way because on one hand, you're trying to be more accurate. That could be the argument. And then you should change it. But how is that going to look? I don't know. You tell me. Like, I'm trying to just put this out there. And since we do have some comments, Amber, yep. Is it possible he just fell after slipping on the ice? It's a reasonable alternative, which means reasonable doubt. That's actually what Courtney and I were talking about this morning. And I said I wasn't going to mention in this video. So I feel like I want to be true to myself and then wait till the doctor's testimony comes and we'll like dive into some other theories. Because listening to some of that, it definitely makes you think. It definitely makes you think like what other things can happen? What other theories could they have come up with, right? But we know that's too late. They've already got two theories. One from the Commonwealth is he was hit. The defense is saying, no, something else happened. They haven't really, obviously, they haven't even come on with their case yet. So we don't know what they're even saying happened. Let's continue.
Do you see the lock event which occurred at 12:32:09?
Yes, I do.
That is also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
That 12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct, from the Lexus clock.
So, if we could go back, and we're going to toggle back with your honors.
I think to him it might have been new, some of it, because they were turned in January of 2025, and that's when he turned in his initial report. So I think he might have refreshed his memory if he had seen any of this before. But there was a third report. I hope I'm going to pronounce this doctor's name right, or not doctor, but Desagra. Am I saying that right? There's another report that came in that he looked at extensively. There was another expert, and that was on March 5th. So we're going to get to that. So he looked at 3 different experts' reports.
Permission between these two slides for the next couple questions, if we can go back to an enlarged Dr. Welcher's slide.
Coyotes. I mean,
That 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09, yes.
Now if we could go back to the...
he's just making the same point. I think I might have skipped ahead. Let's see what this is, and I'll go back if it's not.
Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down, thank you, Mr.
Wait, I'm sorry that I'm ahead of myself. Let me delete these.
Switch to another topic. Take that down, thank you, Mr. Gold. After reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. Desagra, 2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3, all of which established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8, 2025, correct?
Objection. I'm going to allow that.
Phoenix Rising Terror said, I'm more confused than a chameleon in a bag of Skittles about what could have happened by this point. I mean, that could be the point, right? It could be, let's just confuse the jury. I don't think so, though. I think it's just complicated information. And it's complicated as well because we keep having to talk about these three other reports because you relied on the reports. But he's going to say, oh no, with this last report from March 5th, it's wrong. It's inaccurate, and that's not what happened. And it should be disregarded. And there's mistakes in it. So he's going to sort of challenge that.
No, so I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we've been reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a text stream event 1162.2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before misheard you, yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So
He is so confused. He's like, no, I did. Oh yeah, I did. And this is what I mean. The jury's probably like, what? Like, get yourself together. If you're expecting us to understand this and you don't even understand what you're supposed to be talking about, but he could be super tired. I mean, it's very hard to be cross-examined. It's kind of like getting beat up.
let me just ask it through a question.
Sure.
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague Dr. Welcher on 1162.2
Yes.
that establishes the text stream event as
Yes.
12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
Yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
DeSogra, that's what I was saying, the DeSogra expert.
Yes, sir.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
So he finally confirmed. He looked at all three of those reports before issuing his supplemental report.
Each one of and all of those three established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
I'm going to allow it if that's what. Let's see what the answer is.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps, yes.
Let me ask my
He's saying that all the other experts are wrong. He's right, they're wrong. He's disputing the accuracy.
question again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
After reviewing what we've discussed occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report.
Right, he's going to say that it wasn't changed, which is going to be interesting. He said he made adjustments. He made adjustments. So let's see where I am after this. I have another one I want to show you. I want to keep up with what I'm doing. I think it is on this. He's going to show that he didn't change it. This is what Troy was saying in the comments. When they're shuffling papers,
You
it just
departed
bothers me.
in your May 8th, 2000. Sir, do you have that report in
I
front
do,
of you?
yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis. Let's start it this way. In this May 8th, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162.2 text stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay.
He clarified. It's so funny because it's kind of like lawyer speak, when you're like, I didn't lie. I omitted. It's like, I didn't depart. I clarified. I didn't lie. I misinterpreted. I didn't make a mistake. I misjudged it. Like No, you changed it. You changed it. But let's continue.
Okay, so you didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Do I not have sound? Sheila said I didn't have sound. I hope I still have sound. Let me know because I don't want to be talking to nothing. The point here is that he was vague in his first report. And what Alessi's saying is you were vague on purpose. You didn't designate whether the event happened before or after the phone activity. You did that on purpose. It's almost like he was waiting. And we don't know if that's true, but this is what he's trying to kind of make the jury see. That he didn't explicitly address the timing issue. And if I were on the jury, how I would take that is you probably purposely waited till you got all the information from the other experts because you knew you were going to get that, right? Because the Commonwealth knew they were going to get those documents. And then you made this change, even though he denies this. He denies it's a change. But I think another interesting part was that he acknowledged that selecting that 3-point turn was the only adjustment that would allow for the text stream event to occur after the phone interaction. Rewind that. I'm not going to replay, but rewind that. So do you understand why that's confirmation bias? Let's listen. And I hope I have this on the right timestamp. I think I do, but let's just check. I'm at 139. Yeah, I'm at 139.
In your January 2025 report, you compared call log entries between the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare?
Correct.
Now, in your May 8, 2025 report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Okay.
He laughed. I heard Alessi laugh. He's like, oh, okay. Phoenix Rising Terror said, I'm nodding at the screen like a Muppet, like you can see me. I do it too. I'm like, yeah. It's like I could record myself doing that. And then if I need to take a bathroom break or something, I could just leave it up on the screen. Sheila, if you want to go back and watch the video from the last time, we go into who this guy is, and it is very interesting. So if you want to look at that, you could always go and do it later. Lily said, I'm just catching up, so I'm a little behind. I love how Kimbyrleigha calls her husband's name. It's so cute. He probably hates it by now. I'm kidding. Is it, Lacey said, is it called clarifying or copy and paste? Right. We're going to start saying that. Like, oh no, I didn't copy and paste that part of my document.
So you used another method.
Correct.
I can put captions up.
In your May 8, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other time frames as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the jury, in your January 30 report where you ever made that statement.
He never did. I think he was vague on purpose. This was the vague on purpose part. I put the closed captioning, but let me just warn you that it's not always correct because it is from YouTube. And they don't get it right a lot. Yeah, he's not, we're just gonna, hate to be like, we're just gonna get rid of him. I don't mean that.
Yes, I see it.
And do you see the is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and Burla,
I'm not doing Burla. Sorry. I'm all over the place right now. And I wanted to tell you something because I'm getting confused now too. So he denied that he had confirmation bias. That was the last thing that happened. I accidentally clicked off before I wanted to, but that's okay. But I think with all of this, after lying on all the educational resumes and whatnot, I think as a juror, no matter what side I was on, because I mean, they're leaning one way or another at this point, right? They have to be. They can go back and forth and back and forth. I just wouldn't trust his analysis. I don't think he's been rehabilitated yet. We're gonna get to that because he's still on cross-examination. But spoiler alert, Brennan is gonna try to rehabilitate his witness, his reputation, and then he's gonna reiterate all his data again so that the last impression they get is not bad. Right? He wants to show, no, he knows what he's talking about. The narrative still lines up. Don't worry that he took those 3 other experts and what they said and was like, no, that's wrong. Mine is right. But he even acknowledged that he omitted a previously used 3-second infotainment offset in his May 8th report. And that's what I was about to play for you, but I deleted it. So let's go back. See if I can find it. No, I'm not going to be able to, I don't think. Wait, maybe I can. Nope, we're starting at the other one. Trust me. I know you're going to trust me. You're going to be like, Kimber, you need to play it. I don't trust you. But, oh, it is right here. I have it.
you concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the text stream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However, you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not. Can I explain?
Mr. Brennan.
He's like, no, you can't explain. Goodbye. I don't mean that in a rude way, but he's like, no, that's not my job to let you explain. You can let Brennan redirect. But, there's another important aspect is that he confirmed that the text stream data event doesn't even inherently indicate a collision or even an airbag deployment. All it's doing is simply recording data from the vehicle sensors. Okay, so just even when I explain it, I'm like, what do I mean? What am I saying? To me, this was big. And I think we can miss these things as we're listening because I'm like doing my dishes, I'm with a baby. I'm like, wait, what? What? A vehicle sensor. I want to know about that because I was just telling you guys that I accidentally almost backed into a Tesla the other day. And I said, I wonder if her Lexus has that. Because I think my husband's car is from 2018 and hers is from 2020. So I was like, it has to have those sensors. Well, I think this is pretty big because this whole time they've been correlating this supposed event with an actual collision. Before I try to explain more, just hear me out with his testimony and then you'll see what I mean.
Your statements, and I want to clarify this because this is the ultimate topic I want to go to.
Ultimate topic.
It is not your conclusion that every text stream data event means that there is a collision. Do you, sir?
No, that is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have text stream events and they're not collisions?
Yes, you can.
And isn't it a fact that a text stream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with a Lexus vehicle that can cause the vehicle to register a text stream event, correct?
Correct.
In some
I was able to Google, which I know the jurors can't, but I decided to go ahead and find out what other events could cause a Lexus to be triggered. And it can be braking, steering rapidly, like if you're turning your wheel, accelerating, accelerating, Kimber, pronounce it, or safety systems like anti-lock brake systems, vehicle slip control, even, this is where my whole Tesla thing comes in, collision avoidance system, which is what happened to me the other day. Backing up, I told you, beep, 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 and it stopped my car for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I hit the car. Apparently, our car does the same. It will make a noise to tell you if you're backing up or if you're about to hit something. It could be your garage door, a garbage can. We all know, right? It can happen. But to be fair, it can also be triggered by a collision or a potential collision because that little alarm will go off. Sort of like when you get too close. But what it shows is more reasonable doubt, in my opinion, because we don't know which one of those events was happening. Was it her tire spinning on the snow? Did it cause it to trigger? Was it her brake system being engaged? No one knows. If they knew, they would tell us, right? So during this intense cross-examination, Alessi's overarching strategy was clear to me. He wanted to cast Burgess as unreliable, who tailored his entire findings to fit the prosecution's timeline and their narrative. And I, hate to keep going back, but this is the way it is, like this back and forth thing, right? But then he wanted to revisit Burgess's actions during the trial itself. And he's going to emphasize the new May 8th report and how altering this timeline by a critical 20 to 30 seconds was actually delivered in the middle of trial. Like the new report was delivered, which they called an ambush. Remember that whole thing, to the defense. And then they had to backtrack and we're like, we need more time now. So I thought that was important. I'm sorry, I'm like long-winded. Let's see. I think I have it here. Oh, nope, that's Brennan.
Some people refer to text stream event as a trigger, correct?
Correct.
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
Correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a text stream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
By itself, no.
By
Correct.
itself, it doesn't mean, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question.
Again, he's like, I don't understand your question. But I think it's time because I don't want to take too long to show the rehabilitation of the witness because I feel bad for the witness. But again, why? Why do I feel bad? I'm a human. Sometimes I'm just like, oh man, wish those things wouldn't happen to him. But it's only his fault, right? But I thought it was interesting because when Brennan comes back, he's like, now you follow the rules, right? You've always followed the rules in this whole trial. I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's questionable. But let's hear him try to rehabilitate. I have a lot to show you, so that's why I wanted to move to this.
Do you know what a sequestration order is?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
So it would be in order to not view any testimony of a trial, is my general understanding.
Does that mean that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
Do you understand whether or not you can speak to attorneys about testimony? Is that precluded as well?
I'm not aware either way.
Has anybody ever spoken to you about any testimony about that occurred in this trial before you testified?
No, they have not.
Have I ever discussed, intimated, or suggested any information whatsoever to you about arguments, testimony, or anything about this case as it's ongoing?
No, you have not.
Do you follow the rules, sir?
Yes, I do.
Have you followed them in this case?
Yes, I have.
Questionable, I would say. But that's just to show, oh, we didn't tell you to deviate. We didn't tell you to do another report. That's not what we told you to do, right? That's what he wanted to make sure.
When you gave your opinions and you've testified, do you have any information or knowledge about this trial as it actually occurred until the point when you testified?
No, I do not.
You were asked some questions about your CV. A CV is a resume?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you were asked about a LinkedIn account.
Yes, I was.
Is your LinkedIn account different than your CV?
Yes, it is.
And in this case, when did you learn that your LinkedIn account was wrong or had not been updated? When was the first time you learned that?
That was yesterday.
He found out yesterday that his LinkedIn was wrong. It's not gonna even matter because I hate to go forward because it's not I want to flow in everything and I want you to see it. But no, because you put it other places. That's not right.
When you started your LinkedIn account, do you remember when it was you set it up?
I do not. It would have been maybe 10 years ago or more.
10
Do you
years.
routinely update your LinkedIn account?
No, I do not.
When you set up your LinkedIn account, the section where it asks for education, whether graduated or ongoing, do you remember filling out that section?
I don't particularly remember filling it out, but obviously I did.
This was funny to me. I'm sorry I'm chuckling, but like, what do you mean? I don't remember filling it out, but apparently I did. You don't remember filling Sir, you don't remember filling it out?
At some point.
Cuff, you said, oh my God, we're back to the LinkedIn. My eyeballs just rolled out of my head. It's not going to end either. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We're going to come back to it one more time on cross-examination, but I think rightfully so, because you're going to find out more information.
When you were asked about Aperture's website, how many experts are associated with Aperture?
I could give you a rough number between 80 and 100.
How many offices?
15 or so.
Are you involved in the website design or content?
No, I'm not.
Do you know if Aperture gets the information from their website directly from LinkedIn?
Do you see what he's trying to say? He's like, oh, they got Aperture, who made the website bio, got their information from LinkedIn. I don't know why this sounds so convoluted to me. I'm like, you can't be serious. The employer doesn't know. Like, how many people don't know? And what is the reason they don't know? I would have to say the reason they don't know is because he is putting lies out there. That's what I think.
I don't know where they get all of their information from.
Did you ever weigh in or develop your information that was on Aperture's website?
No, not on the website.
You do provide CVs before you come to court, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And in this case, you were asked by the defense, when you provide your CV, do you understand that it's going to be reviewed by whoever requests it, the Commonwealth or the defense?
Yes, I do.
And that it will be shared with both sides in the court?
Yes.
And in fact, the first time you provided a CV in this case, was it October 11, 2014?
Objection, Your Honor.
2014. Brendan needs a nap. Somebody said Bev is drawing pictures now. I was thinking she might be updating her LinkedIn, but I don't know. He said 2014.
So the leading nature sustained.
He meant
Do you
2024.
remember the first time you provided a CV in this case?
It would have been around October
Of what year?
of 2024. Sorry.
And when you provided that, was it as an exhibit to something?
Yes, if I recall, it was as an exhibit to the initial protocol that I sent out.
And when you submitted that CV, did you appreciate whether or not it would be part of a court filing in public?
Yes, I did.
If I could have exhibit
Okay, is this the one that's going to say pursuing?
183, please.
Because I have a really good argument for this. As my brain's working right now, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have an argument for this.
183.
We're still on the topic, so I think it's relevant. I think this is the one that says currently pursuing, right? Because he turned it in.
You could
Here, listen to this carefully, because there's going to be a big argument. He turned his CV in attached to his protocol, October of 2024, when he was engaged to work on the case. That's what I'm assuming, right? So it's October 2024. He's turning in what he is giving them as his documentation, and he's turning in as a attachment his CV.
enlarge the top section.
Did y'all go to your LinkedIn? I went to mine. I was
Right
like, I hope
there.
there's nothing on there that's really old, because I have apparently 2 LinkedIns, and I was like, I need to get rid of one of these.
Good. And sir, when you provided this CV to be filed with the court and made public,
See, there it is.
did you indicate that you had obtained a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Why did you put currently pursuing?
Because I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree.
And did you understand your CV was received by the defense and they knew this?
Yes, I do understand that.
Subsequently, you were asked to provide an updated CV in April 2025.
Yes, I was.
Did you do that?
I did.
And can we have Exhibit
How many CVs did he have to do?
184?
You guys are making me laugh, and you guys are making me laugh in the live stream comments.
Did you further appreciate this would be provided to both the court and the defense?
Yes, I did.
Did you represent to the defense that your education included earning a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. We're going to get into it, but yes, you did.
You've testified in, you can take that down, please. You've testified in many other cases.
I have, yes.
He's going to go, I'm not like rudely cutting him off. He has a lot of certifications. He's testified in a number of cases. You can't keep currently pursuing if you never get the degree. Like, how long can you currently pursue it? Is there a rule? Because I'm confused. Because I have personally never heard of this in my life. Never. Never. Like, if you didn't finish the degree, you just don't put it on your resume, right? Because I feel like it looks unprofessional. Like, what do you mean you're currently pursuing it? The only time I've ever put anything like that is when I was going for a legal job. So it wasn't me, testifying in a court or something like that, like trying to bolster my education. It was me getting a job. I was going to be interviewing for it, and I could be right there for them to ask me questions. It's not like I was handing it blindly to them in a court where many, many people are not going to know the context. And I said, expected graduation date, because it was like a month away. That's and clearly I was interviewing because my graduation was a month away and I was trying to get started in my career. That's the only time I've ever done anything close to this. So I don't know. Am I wrong? I don't know. What is going on here? I don't get it. I feel like it's unprofessional. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But he did ask him, is a bachelor's degree even required to do what you do? He has like over 700 hours of education from everything he's talked about. Like, do you need a degree for that? And he's like, no.
Do you need a bachelor's degree to be competent and achieve in this area?
No, I do not.
Is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite of success in a particular field?
No, it is not.
You ever hear of Bill Gates,
Yes.
Stephen Jobs,
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey?
Stephen Jobs. Oprah Winfrey. Is he kidding me? That's so. He's trying to say, like, they didn't have bachelor's degrees. Like, you shouldn't have added that, because that just sounded cheesy, in my opinion. I'm not going to tell you what he says at the end because I don't want to spoil it for you. But then Brennan goes back over everything we've already heard. And I'm not going to sit here and make you listen to everything we already talked about But this is because it's been a long cross-examination. He wants to make sure what's fresh in the juror's mind is not his fibbing, his lying, his misinterpretations, his errors. No. He wants them to remember all of the most important factors that he brought up on direct. It's also a tactic. It's very important. But what are the first things he wanted to make sure that was known? Why he filed his initial protocol after he reviewed Miss Gaffney's work. Remember Miss Gaffney? She was the woman who took all of the chips off of the little motherboard, and he said, oh, she left something behind. She overlooked a micro SD card. But I feel like we already established that it wasn't even accurate. There was nothing on there substantial in the first place. He didn't need to review it. He didn't need to go back over everything. But he said he discovered critical data that was overlooked, and that improved his timestamp accuracy. And without this big discovery, the key timing would not have been correct. And then he wouldn't have been able to give the correct times to the defense or the Commonwealth. So I feel like he really wanted to showcase that he's like the hero of the case. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
You wrote a report on October 10, 2024. Did you then write another report, a supplemental protocol?
Yes, so I did write that initial protocol and then a supplemental protocol.
Was that on October 17, 2024?
That sounds about right.
When you wrote that a week later, at that point, had you...
Oh, I forgot. I know why I'm playing this. I was like, why am I playing this part? So remember the megabits and megabytes? He said, okay, yeah, I did make a mistake. But the thing is, I corrected it a week later. But the problem is the defense objects to this, so we never really get to it. And then had a sidebar about it.
You realized your mistake?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Why did you...
Can we approach, please?
Okay.
This was a leading question because he's like, did you realize your mistake? Did you correct it? And the thing about Brennan is he's a special prosecutor. He's actually a defense attorney. So he took on this role specifically to kind of flip the script. Now he's prosecuting this case on behalf of the Commonwealth. So usually leading questions are common on cross-examination. So I think he gets too comfortable and he forgets that he can't do that on direct or redirect. But it can also be a tactic because then the question's already out there. The jury already heard it. And then the witness knows how to answer. So that's just my opinion, but let's read some comments. Hannah Montana said, the defense has established so much reasonable doubt. Oh my goodness. I don't even think it matters if she did it or not anymore. It's that the investigation was so shoddy and with a lying witness. I'm going to make these smaller so we can see your whole comment. Oops. No, I don't want to move you. I think that that's the point. I mean, that's the job, right? It's to make sure that there is reasonable doubt there. So that was that point I wanted to make. And then there's also when Burgess criticized Disorga's methods for the clock synchronization, that it was all incorrect. He didn't use the right sources. So I think I wanted to just play that part because remember we talked about it. I think it's important.
When you looked at Mr. Disorga's report, did you have concerns about his report?
I did, yes.
I want to talk about his report in detail. Before we get there, share with us what your general concerns were about Mr. Disorga's report when you reviewed the whole report.
Sure. So what Mr. Disorga does is take a couple different adjustment methods to attempt to adjust the clock from the Lexus with the iPhone. But what he does is takes a lot of methods or data points that are not applicable to the time that we're interested in.
What do you mean? Can you explain with a little more specificity what he does?
Sure. So if you think about it, your clock is constantly, changing as far as it syncs up with other GPS satellites or network time servers, and it's updating constantly. So a clock variance between two devices may be different at, say, 12 o'clock in the day versus 1 o'clock in the day. So best practice is to choose an event that is nearest to your time in question, so you have the most appropriate adjustment for that clock variance.
Mr. Disorga's analysis, did he choose the event most closely tied to the backing up event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You can't say that. Backing up event.
The backing up event. Are you familiar with that time frame?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Was Mr. Sorga's analysis based on information most closely related to that event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What information did Mr. DeSorga choose to use for that analysis relative to the backing up event?
Sure. So he chose a couple things. That's going to be call logs that happened on both devices or that was recorded on both devices, as well as a GPS data point, which was incorrectly identified as being near that or encompassing that 3-point turn.
So he's basically discounting the other expert's report and he's saying, I use my own methods. We already heard all of this on direct. He's refreshing the jury's memory. He's saying that this clock synchronization method is misleading. It doesn't have the right adjustments because he's using these calls and unrelated GPS coordinates that are wrong. And that's why he used the 3-point turn. Now, I don't usually do this, but you know what? We're chit chatting. This is a place where we can give our theories. I want you to do it in the comments. Also, I did read some comments I want to put on the screen, but I have my own little theory. I don't know. This could be totally unrelated. I don't know. But I think I mentioned that my husband and I went to the pre-screening of A Body in the Snow. And I don't know when all of this went down, meaning there's going to be a clip and I couldn't find it for you tonight. And I think it's in the next day of court. But there's a clip where Karen herself explains that she made a 3-point turn. That was in the documentary, right? And when she says that, I think that there was confusion about when and where the 3-point turn took place or whether it was a turn or what it was. But when Karen went on the record and did that show, during the show, she makes that comment. She says, I went past it. I overshot like 34 Fairview. It was on my left. I had to turn around. I did a 3-point turn. And I don't know if that was by design, meaning, did she do that to serve a defense purpose or was she just describing the night? Because essentially, they missed where 34 Fairview was. She turned around. So my theory is after they found out, like the Commonwealth was like, wait a minute, now we have a point in time that we can, I'm saying triangulate, it's not triangulate, we can synchronize all the clocks. That would make it more accurate. Well, that's up for debate because I don't know. That's why we keep going back and forth. Could it be helpful for the prosecution's theory? Sure, because they made it work, right? But I don't know. I don't know because they're doing a lot of research, right? So they're like, wait a minute, if we do it with this 3-point turn, then look, it changes the timeline. Like, I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes, but that was just one of my theories because I was like, oh, remember she said that in the documentary. And then I heard it. And I also have some documentary clips to play you from behind the scenes. I'm going to play them after this. My theory is probably wrong. They probably found out another way, but I just thought that was interesting because they did play that later. And I was like, yeah, see, she's talking about it.
So what we did is did a more thorough analysis of that 3-point turn event when it occurred within the iPhone data, and then compared that and adjusted with the Lexus.
Explain to us your concern about using call logs.
Sure. So there's a number of call logs that you saw earlier that were recorded by the phone and the Lexus. The one thing you'll notice, and it's hard to kind of go back to it without the graph, but the calls that happened between 1 and 5 o'clock that morning actually happened when the car was powered off. We know that based on the power on and power off events. So those timestamps that are recorded with that 2-second and 1-second offset is actually from Mrs. Reed's iPhone as she gets back in the vehicle and her phone connects up and syncs back up. So the 8-second and the 16 or 21-second offset are the only offsets that we have to compare to calls.
But also remember we were talking about when she pulled into the garage and her car is beeping and then she's on a voicemail. We can hear her high heels on the floor. She's going to talk about that. But they're also going to use that. And I thought that was interesting. I'm going to be playing it for you. But in the end, Burgess critiques other witnesses. He highlights the incorrect adjustments. He explains why they're inaccurate and why you can't use the call log. You have to use the 3-point turn. He also disagrees with DeSorga's, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I keep saying it and wondering if I'm saying it right. but he also disagrees with everything. The way he did the clocks, that the Lexus was off, so you can't take it into consideration. But one point that Brendan wanted to make is that no one told you to do independent research. Like, no one told you to come up with a supplemental report. I mean, he said no, that he did it by himself and he promptly shared it. But what are your thoughts? I still think that I'm not sure if I believe that. I did want to read comments though. Perry said, if the data was sound, we wouldn't be watching this while rigmarole. The prosecution would simply have employed a fully qualified expert with one unchanging timeline. There's a lot of changing timelines in here. I will agree with that. And I feel like that's the problem. There's so many changes. So many changes. Oh, yeah, this was the adjustments that he was making, remember?
Through phone calls or through the 3-point turn data.
Yes, that's correct.
Why did you choose to use the 3-point turn data instead of phone calls?
Sure. So I chose to use the 3-point turn data because it was closer in time to the event that was of interest, as well as it was based not only on the infotainment clock, but it was also based on that running timer.
And I get this. I understand this. It actually does make sense to me. I'm like, okay, that's actually really good because the Waze map is going to show the turn. Karen's GPS module thing is going to show the turn. So he's like, their phones. What were the times when he's making the turn? I'm going to pinpoint that, and that's going to be more accurate to know the other times. I get that. But what if he didn't even get hit by a car? I'm just saying, what if he didn't, right? I know that's coming up like this way, that's way further. And I know you're going to hate this part, or maybe not, but Alessi comes back. He comes back. And I thought we were going to be done with the whole education thing. I was like, okay, we've already beat a dead horse. It's going to be over, but it's like ping pong. It's like, okay, he discredited him. And then Brendan comes back, rehabilitates. He's got to come back on and discredit him again because he just put all that data back out there. I mean, I didn't give it all to you, but he basically refreshed the jury's mind about everything. But he's like, wait a minute. Alessi's like, wait a minute. He's a liar, remember? And I did kind of have to chuckle during this part because it was kind of laughable. But let's just play it for you. And I hope I have this part. I really do. Yep, here it is.
Mr. Burgess, I am handing you what is now in evidence as Exhibit 193. I would like to draw your attention to the 4th page, which is your CV.
Closed captioning on.
If I
He's not by the
could,
podium.
sir, draw your attention to the category of education, where it says BGS. Is it correct that there you state Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama - Birmingham, Alabama, comma, 2024. Did I read that correct?
You did read that correctly. And this was filed in 2023.
Understood. So now what I'd like to do, Your Honor.
Okay, they're going to show you what he's talking about, but this was the first time because, you know, I've been giving him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, maybe he's pursuing it. It's 2023. He's turning it in. And what does he do? He puts his degree, which is long. It's like you made a mistake. You wrote that whole thing out. You typed that whole thing out. And then he puts 2024 because it's 2023. So he's like, yeah, 2024, I'm going to be finished with my degree. But he keeps moving the goalpost. Do you see what I mean?
Is to, may I keep this for a moment, Your Honor?
And
Give
he
it to
doesn't
the
think it's a
witnesses
problem.
as needed. Thank you. With Your Honor's permission, I would like to publish a document that is already in evidence.
Okay.
Actually, there may be two, 183 and 184. Let's start with 183. Let's expand it. And then, Mr. Wolf, do we have what has just been
Why didn't they pull his class schedule or something? That's what I kept asking myself. Like, why don't they just show where he's enrolled?
to publish as well? So what I'd like to do is to publish first, with the court's permission, Exhibit 193 that we were just talking about, so the jury can see what has been the subject of discussion. And sir, if you, Mr. Wolk, if you could just enlarge, all we need is the education section.
He put 2024.
Now,
Look at that
Mr.
long
Burgess,
degree.
as I heard it correctly in questions from Mr. Brennan, you answered the question that whether you had ever filed a document that misstated your educational background.
When you put the date at the end and just the date, that means you got your degree. That means you got your degree. That's how I put it on my resume. It's the date I got my degree. So it's like, what do you mean you didn't? You did the same thing with 2015. You didn't realize when you did your associate's degree and you put 2015 that you were doing 2024, and you if you're not graduating in 2024 and you're still pursuing your degree, why are you putting that? I was getting mad.
Court. Do you recall that question asked of you?
Yes, I do.
And your answer was no, correct, sir?
Correct.
So let's look at this document, which we've just gone through, was filed in federal court in the United States District Court, Eastern District of Texas, Marshall Division, which is a federal court. And attached to it is your CV, and in the line of education, it lists
2024.
under BGS, Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration, University of Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama 2024. You see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now, you stated, and now what I'd like to do is do a, is there any qualification whatsoever in that line, that reference to BGS, qualifications at all, explanation, sir? Is there anything?
I don't know what you mean.
It's
You
just
don't-
a
of course you don't know what
statement,
you
right?
mean. He means you're not saying pursuing anymore. You're just putting 2024 like you graduated. Oh my gosh, I'm getting hot. So I'm like, how does he not know? I'm sorry if it's making you mad that we're going over this again.
There's words there, there's nothing after it that explains what's intended, correct?
Correct.
Now what I'd like to do, Your Honor, is to go to what was filed in this case.
Perry, you just made the argument I was going to make at the end, where I was saying, if he can move the timeline of when he graduates, what makes us certain that he's not dishonestly moving the timelines of what happened when in this case? And you just said he's moving the timelines when it suits him. And that's how I feel as the 13th juror. Like, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, no, that's not okay. You can't just move times and just keep adjusting.
Which is in evidence, and we'll go to 183 and then 184.
Oh, this is the one you turned in recently. Look at that.
Now, in what has been filed in this case, there is a currently pursuing at the end after University of Alabama - Birmingham, Alabama, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Let's go back, please, to Exhibit 193.
Like, I don't understand what he's doing.
There is no currently pursuing there, is there, sir?
There is not, but that was filed in 2023, so that would be an expected graduation date of 2024.
Okay, so
What?
this document was filed in 2023. However, there's nothing in this document that in any way leads the reader to believe anything other than the degree.
You get what he's saying? He filed that in federal court. That was a different one. He filed the currently pursuing in this one, but he filed that one in another court. So it's like, he's done this before. It's not new. And he's like, no, I was going to get it. So I put 2024 as an anticipation graduation date. But then you didn't graduate. So it couldn't have been. Like, you know your real graduation date. This is just beating a dead horse. So I'm going to move on. But I think there's more important things in here. Let me go further. I think I wanted to show you this. I know, yeah. I know you're probably like, come on.
The document that the attorney just showed you, did you submit that to the federal court?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you could realize by the voice that we have Brendan back. I should have told you that. Sorry. Surprise. We're back. He's going to try to rehabilitate him a little bit again. If you're not sick of it, just listen.
No, I did not.
Did you ever see that document before it was filed?
No, I did not.
The document says 2024 for a degree. Is there a presumption whether you had it or expected it if that document was filed in 2023?
Yes, there is.
And what is the presumption if it was
The-
filed in 2023?
Objection, Your Honor, respect.
So presumption,
Well,
well, strike that.
okay. He asked if there was any designation to make it clear. If it says 2020, if it was filed in 2023, and it says 2024, what was your expectation at that time as far as your degree?
That I would complete my degree in 2024.
When you didn't complete your degree in 2024 as you expected, did you then change your CV
Yes, I did.
to accurately reflect the change in your status?
Yes, I did.
And what did you change it to?
Currently pursuing.
I would believe this if, like Otamara said, if it wasn't 17 years. Like if you broke your leg and you couldn't come to school and they didn't have online classes and you're like, I was expected to graduate 2024, I didn't, and now I'm currently pursuing it and it was the 1 year, I'd be like, okay, I get it. But you did this multiple times. And why did he do it? I personally think this is just my theory, doesn't mean it's true. I'm like, you are not going to get this degree. You keep doing this. You've gotten away with it for a long time, 17 years. You just change when you're going to get it so that you can get a higher salary or you can portray yourself as having another degree. That's what I think. I don't know. I don't know.
Why didn't you finish your degree in 2024?
Sure. So,
Objection, Your Honor, still.
No, I'm going to allow it.
as most people can probably relate, work, family, and life many times get in the way. So, as a personal objective, I would like to finish my bachelor's, but again, work and life gets in the way.
Did you ever represent to a court that you had a degree that you didn't earn?
No, I have not.
He asked
So, I mean, he tried to humanize him a little bit there. He's like, life got in the way. And I understand that. We even said that in our chat. Like, I don't know if he was in our chat. I know he wasn't in our chat. But yes, life gets in the way. We're going to humanize him. We understand things happen. But after this man was allowed to leave, and I'm sure he was relieved. But then again, this might be the last time he gets paid to be an expert witness. Who knows? Who knows what his future holds, right? Maybe they won't fire him. Maybe they'll just do a little adjustment in his salary. I don't know. I'm making a joke. Yes, I am. But here's that little clip I wanted to play. This is a clip, as you can see on the screen, defendant's interview with ID docuseries, June 15th of 2024.
At 12:41, I leave a voicemail to John where you can clearly, and this will probably be played on Monday, you can clearly hear me pull into John's garage. You can hear my car sensors beeping as I come close to the sides of the garage truck. And then you hear the car go off, and then you hear the slight ding, ding, ding as I open the door, shut the door. I had high heels on that night. You hear me walk in, go into the stairs up into the kitchen, shut the door. You hear me walk in the kitchen. It's like a full minute long. That's at 12:41.
So have you heard her? The closed captioning is kind of bad, and this was a very low volume. But this is important because she said that was at 12:41. So she's giving a time, which is important to the Commonwealth. You're hearing the defendant herself say this. I think it's important for that reason. And then they played this one.
And finally, clip 24.
I do. I mean, I'll tell you, John and I argued the morning of the 28th, Friday morning. So we think he died right around 12:25, 12:30 on the early morning of January 29th.
So that is interesting. She's saying he died. We know they argued, right? That morning they argued. We know that they might have argued again because she said the last thing she did was argue and she felt really bad about that. She was regretful, according to an EMT. She's giving a timeline for his death. 12:25 to 12:30. She's like, I think that's when we think he died. That's interesting that she's suggesting a time. We don't know if she's just saying this like as an estimate, where with no data, just saying like, yeah, I think it's around that time. Obviously, with data, it's going to be more accurate, but juries listen to defendants. That's why they always want them to testify, to get on the stand themselves. So they're going to take what she says very seriously. But I think you know why the Commonwealth thinks this is important. She had over 10 minutes, according to this, right? According to what she just said. 12:25, 12:30, like if she left before that, right? If she's saying she dropped him off and then she gets back at 12:41. She has 10 minutes to drive. What it was, a 6-minute drive? I think that's what they're trying to highlight here. But it is interesting. I really don't think we should take this as a stable timeline, a concrete timeline, but I think it's easy for the jury to put a lot of weight on it. That's my opinion. The last witness of the day was Christina Hanley. I'm not going to go into this. She was a forensic scientist 3. I'm going to save this to when we come back so that we can do the doctor and hers together because I think it all correlates. I definitely want your thoughts on what we just heard. I am getting a little tired, not going to lie, but I definitely want to stay to get your opinions. And then I wanted to show you something that I found. Let's go back through. Perry said, I can't believe this guy had the audacity to put himself in front and center of a huge public trial like this with such shady background. His inability to cover his tracks shows ineptitude. Yeah. I mean, I also kind of blame his employer and the Commonwealth because nobody double checked. Like nobody said anything. Okay. So I wanted to show you this. I hope this works. Hang on. So I went to this pre-screening. I was in a tiny little room. And Courtney saw this because I was showing her like while it was going on. I was like, look where I am. Look where I am. I was in a tiny room. There was probably only about 12 of us in there. This was a couple months ago, right before the show came out. Maybe a week before the show came out. And I sat in this tiny little screening room and I watched the show and I recorded with my meta glasses. Don't hate. I know it's stupid. I love my meta glasses. I got them because we're like screen free parents and I didn't want to always be putting the camera in Mazzy's face. But they actually come in handy. They're really cool. I like them. But I have 2 videos. One is just something I wanted you to hear. And the second one, you know how we've been like waiting to see like the tow truck? I think I have like a clip of the tow truck. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just see. Hold on. Is there any other comments? Let's see. Somebody said, Phoenix Rising Terror said, his body language is very telling. I think so too. Told on herself. Courtney said she told on herself. Well, she's giving a timeline. Don't think it's that smart. Okay. I don't know which one is which. I don't know which one's which. Okay. Wait, is it this one? What if I play the wrong one? Oh no. Let's see.
So I said, sure, let's go. But this can't last forever, right? Everybody was some level of intoxication. That was what we did in Canton. Everybody drank. They leave these bars, they're in their little enclaves where they can all go drunk driving on the way home and nobody gets pulled over.
So I was just showing that to show you like the little room I was in. That wasn't like anything new. That was just me showing like I was in this little room. There was only a few people there. It was very interesting. I was shocked by the documentary. Somebody said they disliked her in the documentary. I was a little shocked, and the part that I was shocked about was when she said, I'm not gonna quote it because I don't know her exact words, but she was like, "Well, I was grieving him for a while, but like now, it's like now I'm on trial." So it's almost like she was putting it on him. Like, too bad you died. Now I have to deal with all this stuff. I felt that was really insensitive, but I don't have to like her or not to care about a trial and understand what's going on. But here's what I wanted to show you. And I wish I could like blow it up more. I'm going to grab it from somewhere else and I'm going to blow it up afterward and then we can kind of look at it maybe. I don't know. Let's just see.
just 3 days after John died, they arrested me here, literally where I'm sitting right now. This is my dining room at my house. They had already seized my
That.
vehicle and my cell phone, so I knew I was a suspect. And I wasn't hearing about anybody else being a suspect.
But it's like we can't
So
see
I
the
knew
good
they were
side.
coming for me.
We can't see the side of it that we want. And I was like, oh, there's her car going on the tow truck. I mean, obviously we know her car went on the tow truck, but I was like, oh, okay, I wanted to see the time, but I don't even know if it had the time on it. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I really wanted to show this part because I was recording little tiny clips in there. But it was interesting doing the pre-screening because then we got to talk, to everybody that was there. And it seemed like the overwhelming majority believed in that room that Karen was overcharged and wasn't guilty of murder. I think a lot of people can agree on that and say, if anything, it was an accident. If you ever wonder, this is so random. We're coming to the end, so I'm doing random stuff. If you ever wonder why these little trolls are standing to the side, their faces get in the autofocus and then I go blurry and their faces are like front and center. But I've had a lot of fun tonight. I am a little bit tired, so I think I'm going to end it. But I'm always so grateful for all of you being here. We will be going over the doctor's testimony, which is so much more interesting than this. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow because there's a lot of things that I already mentioned that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I don't even set myself out to be anywhere near that smart. But I mentioned the raccoon eyes. I mentioned the coup counter coup injury type because I was like, look, his black eyes don't mean that he was punched. Not taking a side, just going with biology, death investigation, so on and so forth. So I thought that was really interesting and I want to dive into that tomorrow. This was very boring in my opinion. I just wanted to get it out there and talk to y'all. That's why I want to do this. Not because I know we don't really need to go back over these things, but I do it because I want to share with you. So thank you for being here. It was kind of a long one. And if you ever have any suggestions on cases or whatnot, you can leave it in the community tab. I'm going to put a little poll in there on what you would like to hear. I'm definitely going to do Koberger and a little bit of Diddy. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you guys are like the first. I'm going to always remember that you were like my crew. And I wish I could like assign little icons by your name or something. I wish that was a thing. But thank you so much for being here. I will see you in my next video. Bye. Have a good night.